So excited to be down here at Counts Customs with the man himself. It's Danny Koker. It's good to see you, man.
Brother, it's great to see you. And by the way, you have great taste in television viewing.
My shop is very unique. We do things differently here. For us, it's all about making them as stylish and beautiful as they can be.
What initially appeared to be a long-running successful hit has finally reached an unexpected end. For years, the Counting Cars series, driven by Danny Koker's personality and the show's love for classic restorations, roared across television screens. To the fans, everything seemed to be running smoothly. But behind the scenes, the journey wasn't as smooth as it appeared. Ratings pressure and internal disputes began to cloud the future of the fans' favorite series. What really caused the show to come to an end, and what made the story behind it even more complicated? Join us as we uncover the real reason why Counting Cars ended. The subtle signs at the beginning. At first glance, nothing about Counting Cars appeared to be wrong. The engines roared, the chrome gleamed, and Danny Koker, owner and face of Counts Customs, still maintained the confident on-screen presence. These attributes helped make the show one of television's most recognizable automotive series. For casual viewers, the formula seemed intact and perfect. But longtime fans began to notice subtle shifts that suggested the picture might not be as flawless as it once appeared. When Counting Cars premiered in 2012 with 2 episodes as a spin-off of Pawn Stars, its success felt almost inevitable. The premise was straightforward and appealing. Locate rare or unusual vehicles, negotiate their purchase, and restore them into custom showpieces at Counts Customs in Las Vegas. The shop's team felt real rather than scripted, and the blend of automotive expertise with reality TV storytelling caught people's attention. For several seasons, the show delivered consistent ratings for the History Channel and helped elevate Counts Customs into a widely recognized tourist destination. On the surface, this looked like a reality TV success story. Yet the very elements that fueled the show's popularity also introduced pressure behind the scenes. Reality television often compresses real-world timelines to fit broadcast schedules. Custom automotive work, however, is unpredictable. Restoration projects can uncover hidden mechanical issues or part delays that do not align neatly with production calendars. It was hard finding a balance to the entertainment pacing and craftsmanship, making strain almost inevitable. In the year 2013, concerns began to surface outside the polished television narrative. Some online customers posted reviews describing experiences that did not fully match the smooth efficiency portrayed on screen. A handful of complaints also referenced extended project timelines or disagreements over pricing. Individually, such issues are not unusual in the custom car industry, where complex builds frequently evolve beyond original estimates. However, for a business operating under national television exposure, even the smallest routine dissatisfaction carries greater visibility and reputational risk. The situation drew broader attention in 2014, when a Las Vegas couple filed a civil lawsuit involving Counts Customs. According to the reported claims, the couple alleged the shop accepted roughly $50,000 for the restoration of a 1967 Ford Mustang, but failed to complete the work within the expected time frame. They also claimed the condition of the vehicle did not match what had been promised. This sparked the public discussions and opinions on efficiency and customer service. However, this matter was a usual civil dispute, and such disagreements are bound to occur in high-end custom automotive projects. Still, context matters. In the world of reality television, perception can shift quickly. A single legal dispute does not define a business, but it can prompt viewers to look more closely at what happens off-camera. For a show built heavily on trust, craftsmanship, and the authenticity of its shop culture, even isolated controversies can create ripple effects. What made this moment notable was not the lawsuit alone, but the timing. By this point, Counting Cars had already built a loyal global audience and a strong brand identity. This raised the expectations, and scrutiny naturally increased alongside the show's popularity. Fans who had once watched purely for entertainment began paying closer attention to the details behind the scenes. Nothing had visibly collapsed, but nothing remained the same. The show still continued to air, and projects continued to roll into the shop. But the first measurable shift in public perception had begun. In reality television, once viewers start asking questions, the narrative around a show can change faster than anyone expects. These signs, however, revealed that a lot of things were happening behind the closed garage doors, which people are yet to find out. Cracks behind the garage doors. If the Mustang restoration hinted at a dispute, the internal financial controversy that surfaced in March 2016 raised far more serious questions about what was happening behind the scenes at Counting Cars. That year, Counts Customs filed a civil lawsuit against former employee Joseph Frontiera, alleging that he had misappropriated roughly $75,000 in company funds. According to the company's court filings, the money was allegedly diverted for personal use, including vehicle payments and travel expenses. The complaint further claimed that the situation created tax complications that resulted in additional penalties for the business. For viewers who had long associated the shop with tight teamwork and professional precision, the allegations were disturbing. However, Frontiera publicly denied wrongdoing in discussions surrounding the case. From a business perspective, the episode exposed potential weaknesses in internal financial oversight. Counts Customs had grown rapidly following the success of Counting Cars, transforming from a respected Las Vegas custom shop into a globally recognized brand. That kind of expansion can strain even well-managed operations. This challenge, however, could be managed. It is a pattern that has surfaced repeatedly in reality television. When a small, personality-driven business becomes the centerpiece of a hit series, production schedules and brand opportunities can accelerate growth faster than internal systems mature. As a result, hiring is often done quickly to meet demand. The responsibilities shift, and informal processes that once worked for a smaller team may no longer provide sufficient oversight. The Frontiera dispute appeared to highlight exactly this kind of growing pain. Around the same period, attentive viewers noticed another change on screen. This was the absence of early project manager Scott Jones. Jones had been a visible presence during the show's first 2 seasons. He was often seen handling customer interactions and project coordination. Suddenly, he no longer appeared on screen. His departure was not dramatized within the series, and no major storyline explained the transition. Some speculation came in that Scott was fired for embezzlement since he used to handle the accounting books and be on the lookout for profit. However, fans who followed the show closely recognized that the shop's management structure was evolving. In reality television, cast changes are not unusual. People move on, roles shift, and shows adapt. But when viewed alongside the financial lawsuit and earlier customer complaints, these developments contributed to a subtle but growing sense that the operation behind the cameras was becoming more complex than the polished episodes suggested. Despite these rising challenges, the series continued airing new episodes. Counts Customs remained open for business, and Danny Koker's on-screen leadership never wavered. From a ratings standpoint, the show still maintained a loyal audience. However, the visible cracks from the various activities could not be overlooked. Perception in reality television often shifts gradually rather than all at once. Small controversies, internal disputes, and quiet personnel changes can accumulate in the background long before they affect what viewers see on screen. By the end of the year 2010, the pattern was becoming harder for dedicated fans to ignore. The brand remained intact, and the builds they made were still impressive, But behind the garage doors, the operation was clearly navigating pressures that the cameras did not fully capture. The audience was beginning to sense the difference. What happens when many other faults are discovered? Obvious changes that couldn't be ignored. Reality television rarely unravels overnight. More often, the shift begins with small changes that only dedicated viewers notice. For Counting Cars, that gradual evolution became increasingly visible in the later seasons. While the show still delivered polished restorations and Danny Koker's familiar energy, longtime fans began pointing out that something about the viewing experience felt different. One of the most common observations was that episodes had become more formula-driven. In earlier seasons, the spontaneous roadside vehicle purchases felt unpredictable and real. This gave the series its early charm. As the show matured, however, many scenes appeared more tightly structured. Negotiations became predictable, and builds progressed along familiar timelines. The storytelling remained professional, but the rough-edge authenticity that initially attracted audiences was missing. This shift is very common for long-running reality series, especially for Counting Cars with over 180 episodes. As production teams refine what works, shows often become more carefully produced. Story arcs are planned in advance, filming schedules tighten, and editing becomes more deliberate. While this approach improves consistency and efficiency, it can also reduce the sense of discovery that viewers associate with unscripted television. Counting Cars appeared to be navigating that same balancing act. At the same time, the cast dynamic was evolving. A notable change involved fan-favorite detailer Rolly Sabo, who departed after Season 6. There was no report on whether Sabo was fired over any major incident, although there are other rumors that he left the Count's shop on bad terms. His public statements and social media activity at the time indicated he left to focus on independently detailing work and travel opportunities. However, on television, even normal staff turnover can feel significant when it affects on-screen chemistry. Szabo had become a recognizable personality within the shop environment, and his reduced presence was not something the attentive viewers could ignore. Over time, other familiar faces also appeared less frequently, contributing to a sense that the key cast members on the show were gradually leaving. Beyond the show itself, the broader reality TV landscape was also shifting. By late year 2020, the automotive reality space had become more crowded. Streaming platforms and cable networks were expanding their unscripted offerings, giving viewers more choices than ever before. As competition increased, networks began scrutinizing long-running series more carefully, particularly those that had already completed multiple seasons. When Season 10 aired in 2021, the show still maintained a loyal audience, but the momentum felt different. The core format remained intact, yet several measurable trends stood out. Episode pacing appeared more repetitive compared to earlier seasons. Breakout viral moments were less frequent. The on-screen team looked leaner than in the show's peak years. Online speculation about the series' future also became a regular discussion within fan communities. Networks such as the History Channel typically evaluate renewals using multiple criteria beyond raw ratings. These include production costs, long-term growth potential, brand alignment, legal exposure, and overall scheduling priorities. Around this same period, online discussions referencing past customer complaints and legal disputes connected to Count's customs continued circulating in automotive forums and fan spaces. Many of these claims remained disputed or unverified, but in television risk management, even background noise can factor into long-term planning. By the end of Season 10, the situation had become difficult. For viewers who had watched the gradual changes unfold, the subsequent silence that followed spoke louder than any official announcement, and no one knew what to expect. The unofficial pause. When a long-running television series stops releasing new episodes without a formal announcement, a lot of people are left to worry about what went wrong. That is exactly what happened after Counting Cars aired its most recent season in 2021. Although the show did not receive a widely publicized cancellation notice, no new season followed, and no one received any feedback about what went wrong. For a program that had built a steady audience over nearly a decade, the quiet halt immediately drew attention from fans and industry watchers. Online discussion accelerated soon after the final season 10 episodes aired. Viewers began offering their own explanations for the slowdown. Some suggested the show had simply run out of fresh creative momentum after many years on the air. Others pointed to the gradual evolution of the cast, noting that several familiar personalities had either reduced their screen time or departed entirely. A separate group of commentators focused on earlier legal disputes involving Count's customs, arguing that reputational risk may have influenced long-term planning. One of the most viral claims circulating in fan communities was the assertion that customer complaints against the shop had collectively reached into the millions of dollars. However, this pattern is common in the digital era. Once a reality program becomes highly visible, even routine business disputes can take on amplified life in forums, comment sections, and social media threads. Industry observers often describe what appears to have happened with Counting Cars as a soft sunset. In cable television, this refers to a strategy in which a network quietly stops ordering new seasons rather than issuing a formal cancellation announcement. This means that the show remains technically uncancelled, but production simply does not resume. This approach allows networks to preserve flexibility while avoiding the negative publicity that sometimes accompanies an official cancellation. At this point, Count's Customs appeared to have a plan. There is precedent for this method across unscripted programming. Long-running reality series, especially those tied closely to real businesses, sometimes enter extended pauses while networks reassess costs, scheduling priorities, and brand alignment. This often serves as a way to re-strategize and rebrand. In some cases, shows later return with new episodes. In others, the pause gradually becomes permanent without a definitive public endpoint. From the outside, the situation surrounding Counting Cars fits many characteristics of this model. The series had not experienced a publicly documented ratings collapse. What makes this phase particularly notable is the contrast between on-screen continuity and off-screen uncertainty. To casual viewers, the show's core formula still looked functional in its final season. There was no dramatic farewell episode, no heavily promoted final run, and no official statement declaring the end. Instead, the program simply stopped moving forward. And in television, silence often generates more curiosity than closure, because once the cameras stop rolling without explanation, the real story often shifts away from what happened on screen and toward what unfolded behind it. However, the silence did not mean the story was over. The real shift in Counting Cars began to happen behind the scenes. Counting Cars reality behind the camera. Despite all the news that points to Counting Cars and Count's Customs being in serious jeopardy, the reality has been markedly different. Sources, including business directories, automotive publications, and local news reporting, confirm that Count's Customs has continued operating in Las Vegas well into the middle of the year 2020. However, it is true that Counting Cars truly ended, but Count's Customs remained intact. The Count shop remains a functioning custom automotive business, serving both local clients and customers who were out of town and seeking high-quality restorations. This fact challenges the narrative of collapse that circulated widely in fan forums and social media discussions. Many believed that if Count's Customs had been financially devastated or damaged by internal disputes, legal challenges, or production shifts, the most likely outcomes would include downsizing, relocation, or outright closure. Danny Koker, the shop's founder and central figure of the series, also continues to pursue other professional interests connected to the Counts brand. He remains involved with Counts 77, his live music project, which performs regionally and contributes to his public persona outside of the automotive world. Additionally, Koker has maintained ventures in hospitality that leverage the Counts brand identity, demonstrating an ongoing strategy to diversify the business beyond television exposure. By remaining active in multiple arenas, Koker has ensured that the brand continues to resonate with both fans of the show and the broader Las Vegas community. Taken together, these developments suggest that the narrative surrounding the show's ending should not be framed as a dramatic collapse. Instead, what appears to have occurred is a strategic shift in focus from the pressures of producing a long-running reality television series to concentrating on sustaining and expanding the underlying business operations. It reflected how Koker envisioned growth beyond counting cars, while expanding the Counts Customs brand as a whole. For many reality-based enterprises, television exposure can be both a boon and a burden. While it provides immediate visibility and can drive increased revenue, it also subjects a business to heightened scrutiny, accelerated growth pressures, and the expectation of consistently entertaining content. Managing a successful shop in the spotlight requires balancing operational stability with the demands of production schedules and public perception. In the case of Counts Customs, it appears that the decision to step back from producing new seasons of Counting Cars may have been motivated by a desire to stabilize long-term business operations and mitigate the risks associated with reality television. Rather than allowing production demands to dictate shop priorities, Koker and his team could focus on the craftsmanship, customer service, and strategic brand initiatives that initially built the shop's reputation. The continued operation of Counts Customs demonstrates that the company survived the pressures of the show and has found a sustainable path forward in its post-television era. Ultimately, the fate of Counting Cars illustrates a broader lesson about reality-based businesses. Television presence does not necessarily define the viability of a company. While shows can amplify challenges and highlight internal disputes, the underlying business can endure if it maintains operational discipline, diversifies its interests, and adapts to evolving market conditions. In this case, Counting Cars has ended, but Counts Customs has not disappeared from the Las Vegas landscape. Instead, it has continued to serve its clientele and uphold the standards that initially earned it national attention for a while. This confirmed that the conclusion of the television series did not mark the end of the brand itself, but a way to bounce back. What do you think the crew of Counting Cars are not revealing to the fans? Do you think the fame and exposure gained during the show drove its success, or would it have thrived out of the spotlight? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.